afternoon. Shall we start with team news? No number of players not out there, but I guess Bergvall is the main one because of him limping off on Tuesday. Paulinho, anyone else you're expecting back? No Solanke, but I'm guessing that's just managing minutes. Fill us in.
Unfortunately, Lucas picked up an ankle injury, so keep being very unlucky with injuries, and it looks like it could be a longer one. He's been assessed these 2 days, so time frame I'll know more about. In the next couple of days. Paulinho is progressing. Could be close for Burnley, but that can be a tight one. Dominic Solanke and Destiny Xavi, all three got well through the game against Dortmund, and just extra recovery for various reasons, and all three should be available for Burnley on Saturday.
So just to clarify, so you sort of said a long one, it's going to be a couple of months for Bergvall. Am I right, it's a similar injury to the one he had on his other ankle last season?
It's ankle injury, and a longer one, and the time frame I'll come back to when we know more in the next couple of days.
Okay. So tell us then, after what has been quite a difficult week or so, how well did you sleep on Tuesday night?
In general, I sleep okay well, but of course it was a big win for all of us. It was a much needed, I would say, performance and win, and I was very happy the way we had it. For example, I think we started very well in the first 25 minutes before the red card. I think we were the team that was in charge, a team that was dominating, teams that looked dangerous, the teams that looked confident, going forward, aggressive, exactly what we would like to be, and throughout performed a good game against a good team and won a well-deserved win. So now it's up to us to build on it, to keep adding layers and keeping, I can say, the result consistency, and also adding even more to performances. I've said it and I mean it. It's not been through the roof all, but the last 8 games there's much more consistency. There's much more in those performances that could have given us much more than we got so far. But we need to keep it up with another top performance against against Burnley, and we come on a top performance, top concentration, give us a top opportunity to win the game.
And how hard is it when you watch your team do that to be able to get them to back it up a few days later in the Premier League? Because when you come off wins in Europe, we've seen a sort of home loss to Fulham and away loss to Forest. That ability to just get that mindset where it needs to be a few days after, it has looked a little different.
I also think, I can't remember all of them, I also think we've seen a win after a Champions League game. I'm pretty sure of that, actually, if I'm honest. So it's not like we're losing every single time we have lost or played a Champions League game. So we 100% won at least once, if not twice, after a Champions League game. Anyway,
but the mindset.
But anyway,
you saw
so
from the beginning of that game.
I would say the thing is, what you're bang on is, it's a big task, but that's what we want, and that's where we want to be. It's a big task to perform every third or fourth day. We want the big task, and we need to perform every third or fourth day. But that's where we, how can you say, build that strength, determination, mental power, focus to go, resilience to go every third, fourth day. That's what we are try to do our very best to build on.
And just finally for me, we know you had your lunch with the hierarchy a few days or just before the Dortmund game. I'm guessing more support off the back of that this week ahead of what is a really big league game, and when you look at some of those league games coming up, it feels like a kind of big moment in Tottenham's season.
I think the support, I think, has been exceptional throughout the season. Not only, I know there's a few questions about me, but it's not about me. It's about me, the staff, the players, the club, and that need to be aligned, and that direction and alignment is very clear from ownership to the board, to Vina, Johan, everyone is on the same page, and there's a lot of things going in the right direction. We just need to back it up with even more good performance and more good result. Had lunch with Nick and Johan again today, so I think it's again a good sign of just that support there is, and we need to keep going. We have it's always the next game that is the most important one, and away to Burnley is a very important one. After that, there's away game to Frankfurt, very important one. All the games are very important, and I know we need more points, but if you're higher up, they will also be very important because then we'll achieve more. So I think the big thing is to how can you say, stay calm, no matter if you're getting too excited about things or it's too much whatever negative. Stay calm, do what you trust, all of us, carry on, and everything will be fine after that.
Hi, just one on Dominic Solanke. Obviously, you said that he had a sort of special programme the last couple of days. How much will his minutes need to be managed in the matches, if at all, and how close do you think he is back to the point where that doesn't need to happen anymore?
I think he is not close to it, I would say. I think we saw Solanke that was on whatever 70% or whatever. It's difficult to when you're 100%. I think we saw a lot of good things for him. He scored a goal exactly where he should be with a nice little triple contact. But the big positive is he was where he should be in the box. There was 3 other situations where he was just doing the wrong movement and then arrived front post instead of behind the defender and on the end of the cross from Pedro, where both of them have a good connection. But that's how do you get that in? That's playing minutes together. He is a very not a physical. He's a very fit player in general and can play with high intensity throughout a game. After 65, you just are done. That means there is more to come. We would just, because it's the first 65 minutes in 7 months, something like that. So we are very aware that 2 good recovery days, then train tomorrow, then he's available and ready for Saturday, and then we take it game by game. So there's his injury is not, it's more his fitness, match fitness. His injury is fine.
Okay. You said you want to build now on Tuesday's performance, but specifically in away at Burnley, what does that look like? Do you think?
Yeah, but I think that's a completely different game against a different opponent. Scott Park and his team, they're a promoted team. We've seen in a lot of their games they're very competitive. Latest at Anfield where they had a 1-1 draw. So it's going to be another extremely tight game. So it's about us. It's about we focus on what we can do to try hit a top performance and really do everything we can to win the game. How can you say, manage their threats in terms of both set pieces, counters, but be on top of it, and of course create the opportunities we need to score the goals.
How different a Burnley side, not just personnel but style and tactically, do you think you face compared to the August game?
I think there's many of the same trends, I would say. Still have some clear patterns in how they want to build. We've just been looking at them in details today. They're still very solid, working very hard for each other, very difficult to break down, know who they are, and in general they look like a good threat, especially when they play at home.
Hi Thomas. Last season Tottenham were really good in Europe, not so good in the Premier League. This season the pattern's similar, really good results in the Champions League, not so good in the Premier League. How do you change that? How do you reduce that gap between your performances?
That's a good question. We badly want to win every game. We badly want to do very well in the Premier League. Very aware that the result hasn't been where we want them to be. We are fully focused, you said to the players today, the top players, the best teams, where we want to be. They know we need to come with a absolutely elite top mindset on Saturday and build on the win and the performance. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm very proud of the players, what they did against Dortmund. It's not easy when it's been a little bit windy, stormy times to go out and perform like we did against Dortmund. But it's still a little bit under the floodlights. Champions League, everything. So very good, but sometimes it can be more tricky to really hit the same wherever it is away from home, where it's not as exciting. But reality is that when you go to very, very difficult places like Burnley against a very good team and coach in Scott Park, and they know what they do, we know it's going to be very difficult. But that's what we need to build on and keep going on.
Do you think right now the Premier League is just harder? It's more competitive than European football?
I think the Premier League is, they have no doubt the best league in the world. I think the competitiveness and the evenness in the Premier League is insane. Every game is so difficult, and I think there's a lot of Premier League teams that would be, if you play whole Premier League playing in Champions League, they will do very well. No doubt about that. Champions League is difficult, and especially when you play away from home, it's very, very difficult.
Hi Thomas, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You said before it was very difficult to perform 3 or 4 days after putting in a good
consistently.
Consistently. But yet, if I go to Wimbledon, I expect Novak Djokovic to perform every other day consistently at a high level. If I go and see Taylor Swift 3 times in a week at Wembley, I expect her to perform. Why is it so hard for a football team to perform consistently for 4 days after they've just played against a European team?
I think there is definitely football teams that can do that consistently, and that's what we're aiming for and want to do. No doubt about that. As I said, we've always also done that before. Very aware that to build that consistency where you can do it is something you need to keep working on. How can you say, that focus and a mindset and awareness and ability to could do it, because it demands such a mental strength. That's something we're working very hard on.
In terms of building consistency, playing the same team all the time is probably a good idea. I would have thought. Never managed a football team.
That helps definitely, yeah.
And the other night you were, I wouldn't say forced into playing the team you played, but you had limited options. Would you consider, obviously without Bergvall, playing the same team at Burnley because they did so well the other night, without giving away necessarily your starting 11?
Yeah, but I always think about how we can create a consistency, and that's also where it adds a little bit to the complexity in with the mental and the physical load. Who's ready to go again? Where they borderline if they're extremely the accumulated load has just been too much for some players. You even need to not load them as much depending on where they are coming back for injury or not, or played a lot of minutes. But there's no doubt that the best teams that are performing have a core group of players, 7 to 8, that play most of the minutes. That's just historically everything you know about it. They play most of the minutes. So that's what definitely where we need to come. How can I say end or go to?
Finally, you've had a lot of lunches this week. We've probably had lunch every day this week. But
I have lunch every week. That's
I mean, with your bosses, you've had at least 2 lunches this week with your bosses. Without necessarily telling me exactly what they've said to you, just take us inside what that looks like. And is it normal for a manager to have lunch 2 or 3 times a week with his bosses?
I would say that there's always Nick was here this week. That was planned 5 weeks ago. So that's normal. If he's over, that we have lunch when 2 days is a training ground. I have lunch with Vinay 3 times a week because it's a good way to talk, get around all the small bits we need to do, because we're also busy with meetings and a busy schedule. The same with Johan, the same with Fabio. So that it makes sense to use that time to have lunch and talk.
Hi, Thomas. Is this the most long-term injuries you've had at one time as a manager?
must be close to, I think, my third year in the Prem with Brentford. We also had a horrendous year, which impacted massively on the Premier League season, unfortunately. So I think this is definitely one of it. I think some of it is we always need to assess and look at what can we do to avoid some of the injuries. Then we know there's a lot of contact injuries. So the Bergwall, how unlucky is that? There was another contact injury I just recently saw. There was a Shaw. There was a few situations. Kudos. Some of them are just okay. What's happening here? It seems like we are cursed or something like that. But injuries is a part of football. So the next bit we need to look into: how can we make sure that we return to play is speeding up? That we do absolutely maximum we can to get the players back as quick as possible.
The reason I asked is I asked your predecessor the exact same question. He said along his long career it was the most he'd ever had as well, and it just feels like it can't kind of be. I know there's a lot of unlucky ones, but it almost feels like it can't be a coincidence that the club keep having these issues. And I guess what I'm asking is that department, that side of the club, something where it maybe doesn't match the expectations of the club right now?
I actually think there's a lot of moving parts in it. I think there's something in the match schedule, the amount of games. We're not the only club who is struggling with injuries at all. Many clubs have that, especially if we play European football and especially if we play Champions League. I think that's a big part of that. It's just the load is just so big. I think that the medical and the performance department overall very happy with the progress they have made this year. I think there's some clear highlights. We talked about them before. I know Rich unfortunately had a hamstring injury, but he was fit and available, and he started 12 games. He played 90 minutes games. He hasn't done that for I don't know how many years. You can check that. So that's a big upgrade. Mickey, big upgrade. Kuchi, big upgrade. The others is in a very good place. Then there's others where we have been, I would say, a little bit unlucky, unfortunately, how we get the injuries. Now the test is how can we get them returned to play. Dominic, he missed kick a ball in the pre-season camp. Yeah.
And just my last one about Nick and the lunch. I mean, he's probably someone that it's not so much
good lunch. We had, by the way, chicken sandwich today. I think it was. So
that's very nice. It was more about Nick himself. He's kind of a figure that maybe the Spurs fans don't know too much about, but obviously he's kind of, especially this season, maybe since the summer, has become more of a kind of a known presence of the owners, I guess. I just wondered if you can kind of tell us a little bit about him and kind of way he sees the club and things like that.
I think the most visible ones is Vivian, Nick, and then Peter Carrington. All three are very determined, focused to do everything they can that this club have success. And they're very, very committed. They're very, very how can you say into it, and want to do everything they can that we get to where we all want to be in the future.
George, please. Hi, Thomas. The system used on Tuesday, sort of 3-4-3, definitely out of possession. Is that kind of something that you can sort of build on and almost be kind of the blueprint and the go-to for yourself at this club, or is that more of a sort of special operation, I guess, so to speak?
I think two ways to look at that. First thing could be a little bit special operation kind of thing, and you without always really try to have laser focus on the game in front of me or in front of us. That's where you hopefully do your best and not thinking too far ahead, and really have that focus on the next team, the next opponent, so you make sure you make a top game plan and everything is perfect. But I knew, a little time before I knew that Dortmund, of course, played the 3-4-3, and maybe we need to match them up in certain areas because that would be good for us in our man-man pressure, which was successful Tuesday night. I've shown before I have no problem in changing system if that's for the better with the players available. But it's a different game, different opponent on Saturday. But I like what I saw Tuesday night.
And this week there's been some reports about Mickey van der Ven and apparently not being that happy at the club. Do you kind of feel he's happy? And I guess, do you feel like the club can sort of match his ambitions?
Yeah, I just see Mickey today. He seems very happy, smiling. He was very happy after the game that we won. When he was in the changing room after the game, I think Mickey is an excellent player. I think he's a fantastic ambassador for this club. I think he has potentially his best season so far he's had. He's fit, he's strong, good defensively. He's growing as a leader, scoring goals as well. And he's a very important player for us this season and for the future.
There's sort of talk of 100 million sort of being slapped on his head as kind of the price tag. Would that force the club to consider selling him, or is he kind of off limits and not for sale, whatever the price?
I would say he's very important for us. So Mickey is a Tottenham player now and for the future.